that I'm sure you're familiar with, which are these videos. Here is the video. This is advertising a diet supplement. The idea is you drink this kind of gross looking tea and you lose weight. What's wrong with this image? Looking just right at this Instagram image, is there anything you can think of? Is there anything you can think of that is immediately wrong about that picture? What stands out to you? Anybody can jump in. Is there anything that stands out to you about this Instagram profile? So what we're going to look at first, if it'll let me click forward. Oh. What we're going to look at first, what that stands out with this Instagram profile, is the profile picture of this woman. So it shows a bunch of different videos about how you can lose all this weight with this tea. But the one thing that kind of stands out to us is the picture of the woman in the profile. She's standing with a doctor's coat. She's got a stethoscope on. But if you look at this picture, you can see it's actually a stock photo used to sell stethoscopes. It's not a real person at all. It's a model. And that kind of shows why you need to do your due diligence when checking things on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Let me do something real quick. I want to get the display that I want. Okay. So I want to be clear about something. Fake news and mis and disinformation is not a recent phenomenon. So this first picture is of something called the Cottingley Fairies in the United Kingdom. And it's a fake image that's created in 1917. Sometimes it's just goofy and fraudulent and people make money off of it. And in 1917, the Cottingley Fairies were these two young girls who cut out pictures of fairies from a book and then took photos with it and sent the pictures around and told everyone there were fairies in their garden. And they did it for 3 years. It lasted a long time. Then you have things like, sorry, it's taking a little while to click here. There you go. Check. Okay. Check. Cool. Okay, then you have things like this image from 1902, which actually spliced together a composite of 3 different photographs. The main photograph that you see splices together the background, which has the tents and the horses, and then it splices together the photo of a man on the horse, and then a picture of a young Ulysses S. Grant, who was a U.S. president. Then you have things like this. Which is Benito Mussolini during World War II. As you can see in the original photo, there's someone holding the horse so that the horse doesn't buck or do anything, while Benito Mussolini holds a sword up. But the photo that they circulated, they erased the handler from the image. The point of this being, fake photos have been around for a very long time. And while the photos have gotten better and the Photoshop has gotten more diligent, we have a lot of new tools to catch them. So let's talk about what kind of fake photos and misinformation you'll find into the wild. One of the things that you often see online are memes. Memes perform really well on social media, so you'll find those a lot on Facebook and Instagram. They're easy to create, they spread quickly, A lot of times they're funny, so they circulate really fast. They hit all demographics, and they're hard for artificial intelligence to detect. In this one, it's a common meme about the boy falling off his bicycle, and it's essentially about vaccination and encouraging people to not get vaccinated. Other examples of memes here, again, related to COVID. You have this, the man at the bottom is the gentleman who is in charge of the public health response to COVID, and it's essentially calling him a killer clown compared to a movie that's the Joker from Batman. Again, really easy to spread. People think they're funny, so they spread them very quickly. Other things that spread quickly are images and video. Oftentimes they're used out of context. The picture itself is real, but the context of it is incorrect. So in this image, you see a Twitter feed that says plastic bags filled with gas by morons in South Carolina. Supposedly that's something that happened during a gas shortage in 2021 in the United States. Except for this image has actually been around since 2019 and was about people importing gas from Mexico illegally. Other types of things you have are cheap fakes and deep fakes, and we'll talk a little bit more about those. Cheap fakes are oftentimes images that are created altered from technology that's easy and affordable. Think things like Adobe Photoshop. A lot of people are very familiar with Photoshop now. It also can involve recontextualizing images, or with video, speeding it up or slowing it down. A common circulated mis and disinformation in the United States was about Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. They slowed down the audio to the video and made it seem like she was intoxicated. Here's some examples. This is India, obviously. This often is circulated as people saying, oh, this is during the Festival of Lights, this is what India looks like via satellite. Except for that's not what it is at all. The actual image is a composite image of different satellite images of what India looks like. The image on your right is what an actual satellite image of India looks like. I told you like movies a lot here. I'm sure you've seen the lion that roars at the beginning of movies. That image you see on one side is trying to tell you that's how they got the lion to roar for the video, except that's not what it is at all. It's actually a lion that was doing a veterinary exam. They just photoshopped the MGM thing onto the MRI machine, but that's just what the lion, he's just under sedation getting examined. But this made the rounds on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram as, oh, this is how they got the lion shot. Actually, there were 7 different lions that were shot for that video, just FYI. Deep fakes are the one that are a little bit scary, even though cheap fakes, believe it or not, are used more. How many of you guys know who Tom Cruise is, the American movie star? I'm glad that helps this example. Deep fakes use AI and deep learning to make images and videos of fake events. You see this picture right here? This is not Tom Cruise. It just looks like him.
Introduce you to the wonderful world of deepfakes. How AI and VFX are unlocking the future of our imagination.
I want to again reinforce, that is not Tom Cruise.
What's up, TikTok? You guys cool if I play some sports?
I think there's bubble gum inside there. That's incredible. How come nobody ever told me there's bubble gum? Incredible.
Using a Tom Cruise lookalike, basic CGI, and artificial intelligence programmed visual effects, this man named Chris Ume from Belgium made a very convincing Tom Cruise lookalike. Now, he's very transparent online. The account is at deepfaketomcruise.com. But that sort of deepfake can be used for much more nefarious reasons.
In this
So this is linked via Twitter.
Тема моего обращения – ситуация на Украине. Только что прошли переговоры с украинской стороной, и они закончились абсолютно.
I don't speak Russian. I don't think anyone here does. But supposedly that is Vladimir Putin surrendering and ending the invasion of the Ukraine. It's not Vladimir Putin at all. That's a deepfake generated Vladimir Putin. And so while the Tom Cruise thing is funny, there could be real implications for deepfakes that involve political leaders, particularly during times of conflict. Again, deepfakes aren't used as much right now because it's much harder and more difficult to make. But fact checkers are really alarmed about the implications that artificial intelligence can have with creating deepfakes. There's tools like Sensity that can be used to help detect deepfakes, but those are only useful now, and we don't know how useful they'll be in the future. There's even artificial intelligence that can make images of people that make it look like they're real, but they're not real at all. So we're gonna play a little game. Do the thumbs up thing again. I'm going to show you an image of a person, and you're going to tell me whether it's a real human or it's a picture of a human created by a computer. All right, we get it? Is it a real person or a fake person created online? Is he real or fake?
Fake.
How many real?
How many real, how many fake?
How many fake?
He is fake. He was created by a website called This Person Does Not Exist. This picture, is he real or is he fake? How many think he's real? How many think he's fake? He is real. This is a colleague I worked with at the newspaper. Real or fake? How many say real?
Yes.
How many say fake? He is also fake. He was created with the "this person does not exist." Now let's do it with animals, because that's how good the technology is. Is this cat real or fake? It is fake. Is this cat real or fake? No, this is Grumpy Cat. This cat's totally real. Google Grumpy Cat. He's since died, but this was a real cat. Yeah. Other types of mis and disinformation is cross-posted content. And so what that is when you see, for example, a post from Twitter that then appears on Facebook. The problem with that is it's easy to hide behind the information, hide who's behind the information. The posts oftentimes lose context, so if it's a reply to something, and it's easy to spread fake posts. I'm not going to link to them here because I don't want to continue propagating that mis and disinformation, but there are websites where you can create fake tweets from famous people, or unfamous people as the case may be. In this case, this is a fake tweet from a US elected official about COVID and shutting down different states during COVID. So this is going to be kind of our guiding framework. Teach people when we teach our media. There's 3 questions to help you fact check the internet. 1, who is behind information? What person or organization actually made that post? Because when you find out who made that post, you can at least start to guess about what their intentions are and how they made that post. 2, what's the evidence? Does the post cite data or data or other sources? Are the sources reliable, or are they just other political organizations? And what are the saying? Have other organizations fact check this? And another thing I'd like to add that's not in here, when you read something on the internet or find a claim, ask yourself what it's making you feel. If it makes you feel a really extreme emotion, there's a chance it's not true, because a lot of fake mis and disinformation, it's designed to make people feel extreme emotions because they react that way. So now we're going to get to the fun stuff, the tools. I assume everybody in this room is familiar with Google, yes? Google is a search engine. It's the most popular search engine in the world. And a lot of people know that you can use Google to search just basic terms, but there's a lot of more in-depth searching that you can do on Google that people don't know about. First, if you put something in quotations, Google will search that term exactly as you typed it. How is that different when you type in a normal term? Well, if you were to type in Elena Dvorak before, it'll sometimes give you my first name or my last name, or it'll give you stuff out of order. But when you type something in quotations, it gives it to you all of those search terms in exactly the order that you put it in. If you put a minus sign with a term, for example, if you put Mustangs minus cars, if you initially type Mustang in a search engine, you might get some links that are about cars. You also might get some links that are about horses. A Mustang is a term for a wild horse. If you search Mustang and then hit minus cars, it'll tell Google to search for Mustangs, but remove any search that has a car in it. So it will only give you, for example, the horses. If you type in a search term and then after that put site colon and then another URL, it'll give you only returns with that search term from that website. The example I give here is if you search for my name, site.pointer.org, it'll only give you search queries with my name from Pointer. Sports, things that I've done. It'll eliminate any articles I wrote when I was a working journalist, things like that. If you do link.pointer.org, instead of searching for a specific page, you're actually searching for a page that links to the page. In this example, what that means is if I search link.pointer.org, it'll pull up every website that has cited pointer.org on their website. That's good to see where your fact check, if people have linked to you, it's very useful in that way. If you type in related:pointer.org, it won't give you the website, it'll give you sites like that website. So when you type in related:pointer.org, it'll give you sites like ICFJ, Reporters Without Borders, the Committee to Protect Journalists, and other journals and nonprofits. So you can see other websites that are like yours, or if you find a fake website, you can see other websites that were within that network of mis and disinformation. If you type in "or" in capital letters, and it's very important, it's in capital letters, it'll give you any search term that is either of those two people. I teach with Alex Mahadevan a lot, and so if you type Elena or Alex, either of us will come up. We don't have to be together. Separate returns will come up. If you type in file type, it will show you file type. If you type in Elena Dvorak, it'll show you, if you type in Elena Dvorak arrest record, file type PDF, it'll pull up that file type of an arrest record. Don't bother searching for it. I've never been arrested. Just was an easy search term to write down. And if you add in periods or an ellipses, you can actually cite the date. So you can look for only file types from 2020 to 2022. All right. We have more Google things. So this is a picture from Twitter, and it says a helicopter running on fossil fuel spraying a chemical made from fossil fuel onto a wind turbine made from fossil fuels during an ice storm is awesome. Now we're going to check, is that real or fake? How many of you guys are familiar with reverse image search? I assume a lot of you guys have gone over that in this training. Good. You don't just have to have a plain image. You can also have an image from a post like this where you can crop it out, or you can even search images, stills from videos. So I'm going to have this tiny child explain how it works.
Since we're fact checking a photo in a video, I'm just going to take the screenshot myself and do a reverse image search. Here, I'm just going to take a screenshot of the video, then I'm going to go to images.google.com, click the little camera icon that says search by image, then upload the photo you want to the fact check. Google will then pull the instances where the same photo has been used, plus similar images. And scrolling through the results, I found this article from Unilad. Unilad is a British internet media company that focuses more on entertainment news. And according to the article, this photo was actually taken back in 2014 in Sweden. So clearly, this photo is being taken out of context.
To answer your question, that's one way we distribute fact checks is we use adorable children. He's older now though, he's not as cute. Reverse image search also works for edited photos, and it can find the source of two images that are stitched together. How many of you guys know what Bing is? It is a search engine. It's owned by Microsoft. Not a lot of people use it. It's considered the kind of inferior search engine compared to Google. But Bing does some pretty cool stuff too. So this is my colleague, Alex Mahadevan. This is a fun example he uses. Where is Alex in this picture? Would you believe me when I told you that not only can I tell you what country he's in or what city he's in, I can actually tell you the exact street that he is on based on this picture. He also always wants me to preface that he's not eating both of those hot dogs. He's only eating the one in his hand. The other one is his wife's. So I'm going to show you guys how to use Bing reverse image search, which actually has something called the visual search and crop tool. It's pretty neat. So we're going to upload the photo here, drop the photo in, and immediately you see Bing is going to start trying to do visual ID. So it'll try and actually ID his face, and it's going to pull up people that it think looks kind of like Alex. But what we want to use is the visual crop tool. So in that image, one thing that looks pretty distinct is the hot dog. It's very different than the way hot dogs look in the United States. It has brown and white sauce on it. It's a little bit longer. So Alex has ID'd that as something to really focus on in the picture. And so he uses visual crop to emphasize that hot dog. So he pulls it up here, and immediately he starts clicking links, and you see a bunch of travel blogs and travel articles. Because apparently the most popular food in Iceland is hot dogs, which is weird, but whatever. And he starts clicking different links. This is from Condé Nast Traveler reviewing this hot dog joint. This is, again, he's re-uploading the photo. But he's going to start going to a bunch of different websites that review hot dog places in Iceland. And he very quickly is able, when looking at this, to nail down the most popular hot dog places. Iceland is not a big country, that does help. But he's able to identify a specific amount of hot dog places in Iceland. He's researching the image now. Alex made this video. And when he clicks on some of the links, he finds that the famous hot dog place in Iceland is called Best Hot Dogs Ever in Swedish, or in Icelandic, but I can't speak Icelandic, so I'll spare you my attempt. But it's called Binjarens Betsu Pilser. Okay. So then he opens up another tab, and he starts searching for this hot dog place. And by going to Google Images, you can match different aspects from the photo. So you see that brown picnic table, see that on his image. Then you go to Google Images, and you see it again. You see the red table. You see the apartments that are surrounding the courtyard. And by cross-referencing and opening different tabs, you've actually deduced exactly which hot dog place he's at in Reykjavik, Iceland. So everybody has a laptop, right? Let us do an activity. That is me. Where am I in this picture? So all the images that I'm using for exercises here are available here, short url.at/IJOVY. Let me know if you have any issues accessing that. It should be publicly available. It's what? Oh, that's unfortunate. All right. Well, I'm not going to airdrop this to everybody. That would be weird, but
You can do it for me, I can check on
okay.
it. You can open it.
I will have a video explaining how to do it, so we'll have to work with that for now. It's from Washington, D.C., and here's how we know. So we'll find the image, which apparently I don't have readily accessible. I don't know how that happened. It's irritating. Upload the image into Bing. What's super weird about this picture? Probably the thing made out of plants in the background that is supposed to be the U.S. Capitol building. So that's what we would focus on in the picture. You use your visual crop, a bunch of different links from blogs, and you see that that is actually a Christmas display at the U.S. Botanical Garden. So again, not only do you know I'm in Washington, D.C., you know exactly where I am, which is the U.S. Botanical Garden.
Would it be right to say that Bing stands out when it compared to the reverse image search, because it also gives you the real picture of the person who's been mocked. There was one mayor who just went out.
Yeah.
And it also gives you the real guy, right?
It does. Bing is pretty exceptional in some of its reverse image search. Now, Google has some great stuff too, especially if you use Chrome as a browser, you can just automatically reverse image search by right-clicking. You don't have to go to a different tab. What we generally advise people is like, don't think of it as you have to use one or the other. You have both tools at your disposal, so use them both depending on the situation. Keep as many things in your arsenal as possible. But Bing definitely has some advantages, particularly with its face identification and with this crop software. Those are the two things that Bing really excels on. Here, actually, this is a little chart. Two other really common reverse image faces, structures, places, logos. It's not great for resizing, and it's great for alternate images. Is again, there's 4 different tools that you can use in their arsenal, and all of them excel at something different. So keep in mind when you're fact checking what it is that is emphasized in that image and use the appropriate tool. I suppose we can't do this activity either, but since the URL doesn't work, but the point is this a real image of a forest fire? And what we wanted to emphasize in this image is crop out the text at the bottom, which is Sheepdog United, because sometimes if there's text in an image, it can mess up your reverse image search. And the point of, in case you're wondering, this image is not real. This is 2 images spliced together in a composite. How many of you guys are familiar with InVid? Yeah. What about We Verify? So I won't waste too much time on that then, but InVid and We Verify, reverse video search, you can actually put them as plugins in your browser, and I highly encourage you to do that. But the way it works is it isolates screenshots and scenes from a video. This is actually a fake movie trailer that people made for a new Harry Potter movie. And when you do a reverse image search on the video, it shows you not only, you know, the image stills, but it isolates the scenes and it tells you where those scenes are from. Harry Potter movies spliced together to create one trailer. Do you guys know what metadata is? Excellent. Most concerning an image file, this often includes the author, file name, content, themes, and more. Sometimes you'll see it called as EXIF data, which is exchangeable image file format. There's a lot of different tools that help you analyze metadata. There's more than I can list here. This one is photo forensics. And even though you guys are largely familiar with metadata, just play the example anyways. I'm uploading a photo here of my dog. So not only does it give me the file type, it tells me what it was taken with, which is an iPhone XR, this phone. It was created, shows different image size. It also gives you the exact address where it was taken at, which is my house. So definitely keep in mind different metadata because it can give you a lot of detail. And also try and turn some of that stuff off on your phone for your own safety. I think we're getting down to the, yeah, where it gives you the GPS. And then if you keep scrolling down, it actually shows it on a Google Map interface. Yeah, not ideal. So here's some other different image analysis sites. Photo forensics, Jeffrey's image metadata viewer. It's not the prettiest website, but it's been around for a very long time. There's also image edited that can help tell you if an image has been edited. And image ops as well, which gives you metadata. These are my favorite tools now, which are geolocation tools. So this is from Kayleigh McEnany, who used to be President Donald Trump's press secretary. She has written here, more than 1 million marchers for President Donald Trump descend on the swamp in support. Best base in political history. We love you guys. So this is supposedly taken, to clarify, when she says the swamp, she means Washington, D.C. And she says there's 1 million people descending downtown in Washington, D.C. She has a couple of screenshots from Fox News. How do you find out if this is legit and there were actually 1 million people there? This is mapchecking.com. This is one of my favorite. Have any of you guys ever visited this site? So the way map checking works is it gives you a map interface. It's similar to the one that you'll find on Google Maps. All you need to do to use it is you'll check an area. Here, she's saying they swarmed on the Capitol. So you're going to want to pick the road from the Capitol. You use a little clicker moving around Washington, D.C., and you'll make points on the map. And using that, you'll cover the area. And then you see on the right, you can make the area as dense as you want or as loosely populated as you want. You can expand the area, you can decrease the area. And it'll tell you the maximum number of people that is physically possible to fit in that area. Because crowd size is something a lot of people lie about a lot. Or if you're just writing a story about a protest and you want to get a gauge of how many people are actually attending that protest, this is a super helpful tool. So assuming Trump supporters were in the Capitol, and this is the area that they marched at, approximately 122,000 people can fit in that designated area, which is a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. It is not 1 million. So that's one way you can fact check crowd sizes. I have another example here. This is from Sri Lanka. public protests. There are supposedly 1,000 people in front of the President's Secretariat's house right now. Yeah. It's a screen grab. What do you mean? Mm-hmm. It's just giving you how many people are physically possible. It's not how many people are there right now. Yeah. So here, we'll do the same thing. We'll find the President's Secretariat's house in Cologne. And they explain here that what they consider a densely packed area is 2 people per square meter. So you even have a measurement for what they consider densely packed. And so here we can see that it's not that hard to fit thousands of people in this area. That's very likely a legitimate headline. So here is an image from, supposedly from the US pullout in Afghanistan last year. This is supposedly the Kabul airport. Obviously, you can reverse image search this. It works for manipulated photos. You can look for the correct date. But if it's not showing up there, what other tools do you have at your disposal? First, you can use things like Google Earth. I assume you guys are familiar with Google Earth. So first, you've reverse image searched it. Obviously, you can see the image is fake and it gives you the real story. But again, if you don't have that at your disposal, you can look at the image and then you can cross-reference it on Google Earth. You look for things in common like buildings or mountains or other major structures. So here he's showing here we're showing a bunch of different kind of reverse image search tools. And here we're going to cross-reference it on Google Earth. So we'll type in Hamid Karzai International Airport, which is the name of the airport in Kabul, and Google Earth will take us there. And using that satellite interface, you can poke around and see what major buildings are there, what mountains are there, what are the streets, where are the crossroads, and you can cross-reference that to the image. But wait, there's more. How many of you guys are familiar with SunCalc? So this shows you what angle the sun was at during various times. So here, the shadows are really long in the image. So the implication is that it would be late in the afternoon based on the way the shadows are. But supposedly the image took place at 11 something in the morning. So here, again, typing in the time when it took place, which was 10:35 in the morning. And then you'll put in your date. And then you'll put in your location. Compare the length of the shadows. Compare what the sun looks like. Make sure there is sun. Mm-hmm. You can, yeah. It can give you the right direction. It's just you have to keep in mind that like it doesn't necessarily keep track of what the weather was on specific days, things like that. So it can give you the latitude and longitude. If there's not, the idea is you're comparing to what the sun looked like in that specific time and what the angle was. But yeah, you can do latitude and longitude as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the sun obviously is different based on what time of the day it is. And so when you put in 1035, again, it gives you the angle of the sun and you can compare it to the angle of the shadows. And another really basic thing is check what the weather was. It seems really fundamental, but if the image supposedly took place in the middle of the summer and then in the photo everyone's wearing a winter coat, that should raise your suspicions a little bit. You can check the weather and see if it was raining that day. If everyone's in raincoats, you definitely want to make sure that it had been raining on that specific date in that specific location. So we are way ahead of schedule. But let's talk a little bit about reading the data behind some other tools that you can use. There's Wikimapia and LiveView A Map, and these are all different open source maps that you can use. Just keep in mind, again, you kind of want to cross-reference. Sometimes Google satellite images will be blurred out, and so these are all open source, crowdsourced maps. So you can get an idea of different locations. Okay, this is from a website called twistedtruth.net. And the headline is FEMA. In the United States, FEMA is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. It's implemented during times of great crisis in the United States, oftentimes an environmental crisis like a hurricane or a fire. And it says FEMA to hold mass casualty drill. And the implication of this headline is that they're holding a mass casualty drill because there's some deadly event that is going to be coming to the United States. As it turns out, there was, but it was a public health emergency, and that is not what this article was implying. What is Twisted Truth, though? In the United States, that is not considered a reputable media organization. It is certainly not the Washington Post or the LA Times or a major broadcaster. No one knows who that is, and Michael Baxter is not a prominent journalist. So what is this website, and who is this person? First thing we can do to try and attempt to determine who this is look up who owns a domain. Have any of you guys ever looked up who owns a website? Good. So here I used the website called Whois, and I actually typed in pointer.org. And it shows that it's the organization that owns it is the Poynter Institute, based in Florida. It was registered in 1994, and it expired in 2021. We did renew it. This is an old slide. You can also use ICANN lookup. There's a bunch of different domain lookup websites that you can use. So first, we'll type in our friend twistedtruth.net. It does not yield a ton of results. Port One LLC, which is a way that you can buy websites and mask your ownership. That's what we pulled up on ICANN. Pulled up another one. It gives us when the website was registered, but doesn't give us a ton more than that. Again, same thing, not a lot of information. He's done a pretty good job of checking and covering himself. Another website you can check, and I actually don't check this specific website in this screenshot, But another website you can check is holdintegrity.com. As I've mentioned, some of the largest purveyors of mis and disinformation around the globe right now are Russia and China, and to a lesser extent, Iran. And so the way this hold integrity works is if you type in a URL, it will show you if it's registered anywhere in Cyrillic, which is the text they use in Russia. So I typed in rt.com, which you perhaps might know is Russia Today's news outlet. And it'll tell me an alert which says there are various sites that use Cyrillic for this website registration. And that gives you a hint that that website is likely registered to someone in Russia. And as such might be associated with mis or disinformation. This website, I don't have a screen grab of it, is not associated with Russia. However, that is just another tool you could put in your arsenal to detect propaganda, mis and disinformation. But here's another thing you can do, which is think like a developer or a programmer. And that is looking at the page source. Behind every article and behind every web page, there's another more truthful story in the information and the code that was used to create the website. And it may look intimidating, but it's easier to find than you think. So what you're going to want to do is right-click and click View Page Source. I know this is a lot of text, and this can look very intimidating, but you can search through using Control F. When you hit Control F on your keyboard, it allows you to search for different terms. So one thing that we recommend people search for when they look on these websites is the @ button, because the @ button will pull up an email address of who is writing a news story. So here we pulled up, oh goodness, oh good grief. Here we pulled up the @ button, and it pulled up Twisted Truth at whatever the URL was. Not super helpful, but it gives us a little bit to work with. So let me have it get back to the spot where we were. twistedtruth@gmail.com. You'll open up your other tab. And while you don't necessarily find the person's name, you do find other articles written with the similar email address. Another kind of blog looking site, and it links to twistedtruth.net here. It also links, of course, to a PayPal account. Of course it does. And here you can look for the page source again. Again, try and look for an email address that is associated with it. And you'll find your twistedtruth@gmail.com email again. So it might feel a little bit like you've hit a dead end, but don't worry, there's more that you can do. So again, you'll see a bunch of these associated pages. How many are familiar with the Wayback Machine? Yeah. And the Wayback Machine is going to be very helpful in determining the source of this mis and disinformation. So you'll type in Twisted Truth into the Wayback Machine. And as you know, the Wayback Machine archives various days. You have some from 2021, various months that'll give you screen grabs at very specific times. But we want to find one of the old iterations of it. So we'll click, you'll see here, 2021. When was the website created? And you'll see it was created in 2019. The earliest screen grab was from September 1st, 2019. So we'll pull up that grab. And in case you didn't know, the Wayback Machine actually archives 617 billion websites right now, and it tells you how the website changed over time. A really common tactic used by disinformers is to create a website, build up the audience, and then change the content of the website once it's already built that audience. So here we pulled up the archive from 2019. And once we've pulled up that archive, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull up that code, and then we're going to search the ask button. And now we have a different email address, which is askthewizard518@gmail.com. And when you search that, you get a different queue of results, including this YouTube website of our friend Ask the Wizard, Michael of Nibiru News. But here's another really interesting thing about people. Here, when you pull up Ask the Wizard, you'll find this website, which is Flickr, which Flickr used to predate Instagram of people taking photos. People don't like to change their usernames, including our friend Ask the Wizard. And so you can find his Flickr page and follow his digital trail. So you type it into Google, and while we did have a little bit of a 404, we were able to find his Flickr account where you can see he took a bunch of pictures in the western part of the United States. And if you look at the network of mis and disinformation sites, you find one of the photos was on Real Raw News, which was one of the other sites associated with Twisted Truth. So check this out. Michael Tuffin, Ask the Wizard. You pull up Real Raw News and you see the background is the same as the one from his Flickr account. Real Raw News is one of the ones that was associated with Twisted Truth because he had a network of fake websites associated with one email. And he did a pretty good job covering up his digital trail, but it wasn't perfect. And part of why it wasn't perfect is because people don't like changing their usernames, which brings us to another tool. This is called name check. Have you guys heard of name check? You guys are just ahead of the game here. When you type in a username at NameCheck, it tells you everything that it's associated with. So Facebook, Shopify, YouTube, Slack, Etsy, and more. And so you can pull up someone's username and find out all the other accounts that are associated with it. Here's some other tips for the Wayback Machine. And most of this also applies to webarchives.com. Web Archives is similar to the Wayback Machine. They're both internet archive sites. And you can add them as a Chrome plugin if you guys use Chrome as a browser, and that way you can just right-click. So one of the cool things about using this is if you add an asterisk or a star, you can see every URL that's ever been saved under a page. So if you add a star, for example, to Twisted Truth, you can find every URL that's ever been associated, that's been saved on the Internet Archive or Wayback Machine that's associated with Twisted Truth. And so that includes articles, and more importantly, it includes things like About Me pages or contact pages. So you can find archives of contact pages, About Me pages, and that can also help get you to the user or creator of a certain web page. Done.
You can search it with like file type, size, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is when you have the exact information. Like you
Yes. Yes.
Now in this case, what you're telling us, we have very minimal information.
Yep.
So you went to Google, and from Google you went through multiple tools to get to the domain name.
Yep.
Now my question coming back to Google is, what is the possibility to search with minimal content on Google with the help of the magic of three dots, hash, down and roll? What is the possibility of getting to the to the result?
You still are going to want a name. You can use Google to search, for example, for things on that page, right? So for example, using the colons, you can at least search for whether or not there's an About Me page on that site. And sometimes you can find a cached version of it. A lot of times Google will also save an old version, and you can right click and click View Cached Version, and that'll give you an older version of that page. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Again, that's why it's beneficial to have multiple tools in that arsenal.
So that's when you way back mentioned that started.
Correct.
Are most of these free or
Yes, they're all free. Some of them have paid versions as well. Like a lot of the domain lookup sites, there's paid versions of it. And I'm about to show you some other tools as well that also will have paid versions. Wayback Machine is free. It's always been free. It's funded by donations. Archives is also free, or Internet Archives rather is free. Map Checker is totally free. That's created using open source data. Mostly try and use only free tools because we're journalists. We don't have any money. So, yes. Free. The paid ones usually have either a one-time fee or a subscription fee. Or like if you want to search for more information on a record, like if you're searching for something very specific, but everything I've shown so far is not associated with a cost. I don't think you need to use any paid versions to be a good fact checker if you don't want to be honest. You just have to have a little bit of gumption to search through. It might take a little bit more time, but I don't think you need to have a paid subscription for it.
I just have one small request. You just did a digital trade. If you have to put it in 1 to 3 point of what you've just done, can you just repeat it for more clarity? We have also
Sure.
had something like that before, but we thought
Sure. First thing, look for the page source. That's the first thing you want to do. Is look at the page source. You'll see all of the code. Look for email addresses associated with that specific web page because every page has to be registered to someone. Someone has to own that page. Once you have an email address, look for other web pages that are associated with that email address. Once you have those pages,
I'm not doing it on Google. That portion I thought really Google. Looking for other pages of the same image.
yeah, Google. You can use any search engine and it'll show you pages associated with it. And then, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second.
I'm sorry.
And then look at the history of those pages. Because again, a lot of these websites change over time. And so you can see the history of that web page and also look at the source code of the older versions of that page. Lastly, if there's usernames associated with it, if someone has an alias, check those aliases for other different accounts because a lot of people use their alias for the same account. I mean, I mostly use it for my spam folders now, but I still have the same email address from when I was 13 years old. And I will still sign up for stuff using that email address so people don't send me spam. And I know I'm not unique in that way. So here's some other tips with the Wayback Machine. Like I said, when you type in the asterisk, it shows you anything associated with that web page to include contact sheets, about me pages. And so again, you can find older versions that perhaps might have a person's name or email address associated with that page. Check out the history of your websites. As I mentioned, disinformers like to build an audience and then change their messaging. It's an easy Chrome add-on. What is Chrome the browser of choice for most of you guys, or are you using Firefox or Internet Explorer? Chrome, it's the better browser, in my humble opinion. So just know that you can add a lot of these as plugins, and so you can actually right-click immediately and check the history of a web page. So here, it's a snapshot of the website as it appeared on 2021. And you can reach cached versions of it. And see right there, you'll see at the top, just built into your browser, so that you don't have to necessarily go to an external website. All right, let's play a game. So this is technically stolen from another training that I did, but that's all right. So using the Internet Archive, I want you guys to answer these 3 questions. What is the first archive date for the website Tara? It is tara.com. Who wrote the lead story for Pointer? I don't know why I didn't put a date on there, but I guess that really makes it very challenging. Who wrote the lead story for Pointer on June 30th? And in August of 2013, who was the publisher to contact for the sports blog VivaLoudon.com? That's where I did my internship. Not in 2013. I was working a real job then. But if you guys want to take 5 to 10 minutes and answer 1 or 2 of these questions using the Wayback Machine right now, and then we will reconvene in about 5 minutes.
The Tara domain, or
It is Tara. So I'll even go to the website. Yes, it is Tara.com. So it is Tara.ly. I stand corrected. So find out the first day that it was published. Tara.ly. Ly, sorry. It's a Libyan website.
can we see the questions?
Yes, absolutely.
That one.
Yeah. There you go. What? For Tara? Definitely wasn't 98. Tara.ly. It's 2021. Yeah. So, as we've discovered, the first archive date for Tara is June 3rd, 2021, which makes sense. The website was created in 2021. The next question is a little, since I didn't put the year down, that makes it a little challenging. No, you can use whatever you want. The problem is I definitely meant to put a different year, but now I'm kind of forced to default to the first June 30th story. We mostly only run one lead story, mostly. But if you look at our lead story here at 4:39, so in the morning, this website is not moving quickly. While we pull that up, look at the archive. There we go. The lead story was written by Tom Jones. Yep. Yeah, I should have put a year down. That was my bad. Yes, it's a good call. So the next one, the hardest question. In August of 2013, who was the publisher to contact for the sports blog vivaloudon.com? So this one you have to use some of the techniques we learned on Wayback Machine. Mainly the star. Think the asterisk. I'll give you guys a few more minutes. Has anyone found it yet? What? It is. So you found it. Has anyone else found it? I threw him in there because he gave me an internship when I was like 20 years old. So blessed to him. So the way you're going to want to find it so you click at vivaloudon.com, but you want to use the star button. Because remember, the star button gives you every page that's published under that website. So we're going to wait for it to load. I will say, I like the Wayback Machine. It's not the fastest website on the planet. Let's see if actually... Let's see if just restarting it will help. So what you'll use here, vivaloudon.com star or asterisk, however you want to call it. And the website will continue to refuse to connect. That's delightful.
How is it different from archive.ca and how is it
Just a different website. It's again just multiple tools that do very similar things. I don't think you have to pay for any of them. I think they're all donation based. Internet Archive will link you to. Let's see. Let's see if we can get it to work here. The internet is not being super cooperative right now. Cool. Well, the point is use the star button and then it'll give you all the different web pages that you can pull up and you'll click for a contact. That is the way that game is solved.
Website name and then the address.
Correct. So it'll be pointer.org star, vivalana.com star, asterisk, and then it'll give you every page saved under that. So sometimes you'll have an about me section or a contact section. I assume you searched for contact. That's how you got it to work. It's just now the internet is not working. So, you know. All right, our next tool. How many of you are familiar with the website Hoaxy? Anyone here heard of Hoaxy? So Hoaxy is cool because another disinformation and misinformation phenomenon you find online are bots. Everybody here know what a bot is? Bots are fake usernames and they oftentimes are designed to squat on a specific, work on a specific keyword or hashtag to promote a certain point of view, or in this case, to organize a protest against COVID in Springfield, Illinois. You'll see the hashtags are hashtag Springfield, hashtag Illinois, hashtag health freedom. This is a tweet from someone named Paul Nelson helping promote an in-person event in Springfield in the United States. So we're going to use this tool called Hoaxy. It helps identify automated accounts as well as networks of automated accounts. With Hoaxy, you can search under a bunch of different ways. You can search from keyword and hashtag. You can also search specific user accounts. And once you plug those keywords into Hoaxy, you can identify networks of accounts sharing the term. Here, we'll do our little screenshot here. So the one thing that we ID'd when we were taking this of the most unique terms are health freedom. Don't necessarily want to search for a place name. You'll find a lot of different things coming up with place names. So we ID'd health freedom as something to really focus on. And so as you can see here, you can search for different data, including Twitter accounts or hashtags. When you type in the hashtag health freedom, it'll show the original account that shared it. And then it'll give you what's called a botometer score. And that gives you the likelihood that that account is a robot. This one is a 4.8 out of 5, which is quite high. And as you can see, the colors are associated with whether or not it is likely to be a bot, red being very likely and blue being not likely at all. And so this actually shows you not only that this originated with an account that is most likely a bot, but it also shows you the network around it. And it shows you that a lot of robots are also sharing that hashtag. And so that can help tell you terms to look for, because these robots tend to spread misinformation. So you can look at those accounts and see what misinfo is percolating on Twitter. There's also other ways that you can analyze different Twitter accounts. There's a bunch of different tools here. The examples I used were follower audit and Twitter audit. Some of these tools have paid versions so that you can get more details. There's a lot of different free ones as well. Here we have my own Twitter as an example. It's not that great, not that many people follow me. And it gives you a bunch of different statistics. It shows you the quality of my followers. Do I have a lot of bots following me? Because a lot of bot accounts are networked with other bot accounts. And so by analyzing whether or not there's a ton of robots affiliated with an account, you can also deduce that likelihood. It shows you how many of my followers have been inactive for a long time, how many don't have profile pictures. Oftentimes lacking a profile picture is a sign that it is a fake account. Followers without bios, again, that is oftentimes a sign of a fake account. And then it tells you how many of your followers are verified. Another tool that you can use is Luca Hammer's account analysis. And this one's pretty interesting because when a person tweets. So if you look at my account, you see that I mostly tweet between 8 and 10 p.m. at night, which makes sense because I mostly only tweet when I'm watching sports. That's when games are on. It tells you Twitter volume by month. It tells you what types of tweets a person uses, whether or not they use a lot of retweets or quote tweets. It tells you the language a lot of those tweets are on. It tells you hashtags that person used. And it tells you who that user interacted with, either from replies, retweets, quotes. And so again, that gives you a gauge because bots tend to congregate together because they like to proliferate information. This also shows you the last, I think, 5 or 10 tweets that someone has written. So that can be useful information as well. Okay. So our final activity. I have to find a way to get this all to you. Let me.
The account has to be put in that search bar as in. He said, on the home screen.
Yes.
When you're searching the name of the account, let's say you have to search an account or what followers are trending next. If it's a term, it's a trending term, you can put it in the search bar. But what about the account that you just check somebody's account? But really, it's the same search bar that you.
It should be the same search bar, yeah. Oh. Sure, yeah. I had, this is the last activity. Yeah, good call.
Actually, I know it's we are feeling sleepy, but no, no tea break. But it's a wonderful session. You agree?
Yes.
So you need to ask some questions. You want to save it after tea, or you want to ask now? Huh? While having tea. No. Everybody have to listen. Okay, let's go for tea break. Come back, ask a lot of questions because whatever I noted down, a lot of new tools. Alana has taught us because maybe after the tea we will talk about it because.
We have one more activity.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop it to you. I'll drop it to you. Share with you.
After the activity, I can also talk a little bit and ask some doubts to Elena. So come back in 10 minutes.